Hi, I'm Anar Chaudhary from John F. Kennedy Middle School, and in this video I want to introduce I, or also known as the imaginary number. So let's just get started. I want to introduce to you the number I. I basically means an imaginary unit. You might see this in many of your math equations or expressions. So it might seem weird to you that it's an imaginary unit because we have a lot of wacky numbers in math like pi and other numbers such that, which actually have a value. But I actually doesn't have a set value. Instead, it is represented like I squared is equal to -1. So that's kind of how you represent I. But another way you could do this is also just by reversing it. So you could also say I, if you just want to have I alone on one side, you could say I is kind of equal to, no, it is equal to the square root of -1. So though you may think that this one's not correct, it is, because if you were to reverse it, it would equal that. So that's basically how you represent I. And I just don't want to go over what I is in this video. I also want to go over the exponents for I. So we're going to go over the different exponents that I can have and their values. So the first one I'm going to go through is I to the power of 0. I to the power of 0. And as we know, anything to the power of 0 is equal to 1, and there's nothing different for I. So I to the power of 0 is indeed 1. Okay, the next thing I'm going to go over is I to the power of 1. I to the power of 1. Now, anything to the power of 1 is basically equal to the number itself. So I to the power of 1 will be I. It's going to equal to I, and that's pretty self-explanatory too. The next one we have here is I to the power of 2. And as you can see by our example up here of what I is equal to, I to the power of 2 is equal to -1. Again, pretty self-explanatory once you have the definition of I written down. Now the next one might be a little bit more tricky for some of you people, but it's going to be I to the power of 3. Now, as we can see here, I to the power of 3 could equal to I squared times I. And if we were to simplify this, we know that I to the power of 2 is equal to -1. So if I wanted to make this much simpler for myself, I would just say -1 times I, and that'll be equal to I to the power of 3. If I want to continue simplifying this, it is equal to -I. So the final answer for I to the power of 3 is -I. Now, that's from 0, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to go over to I to the power of 4. Okay, so I to the power of 4. So I to the power of 4 is, again, equal to I to the power of 3 times I. Okay, so basically you just multiply it by the power before times I. And I to the 3, as we know, I to the power of 3, as we know, is equal to -I times I, which can also equal to -1 times -1 times I, which is I squared. I squared. Now, since I'm kind of running out of space here, I'm going to continue over here. So I squared, as we know, is -1. -1 times -1 is indeed equal to +1. And as you can start to see here, both the things I've wrote in blue so far have equal numbers. And you're going to see that's going to be the trending pattern we're going to have throughout the whole thing. So let me just get through perhaps number 6, and then we'll stop right there and call it a day, or call it a video. Next thing I'm going to go over is I to the power of 5. I to the power of 5. So that's going to be equal, it'll equal to I to the power of 4 times I. As we know, this is going to be, actually it's going to be much easier now. So I to the power of 4 is going to be equal to 1. It's going to equal to 1, and and it's going to be multiplied by I. And it's going to be multiplied by I to the power of 4 times I. And I to the power of 4 is going to be equal to 1. It's going to equal to 1, and it's going to equal to 1, and it's going to be multiplied by I. And it's going to be multiplied by I to the power of 4 times I. And I to the power of 4 is going to be equal to 1. It's going to equal to 1, and it's going to if you continue this on and multiply I by 1, you basically get I. And as I told you, this pattern is going to continue where so far 0, the power of 0 and 4 are equal, 1 and 5 are equal, negative 2 and 6 are actually going to be equal, and this and 7 is going to be equal. But let's just continue on so you can get a full-on visual on how this works. Next one we have here is I to the power of 6. This is going to be I to the power of 5 times I, as we know. I to the power of 5 is going to be equal to I, and then you're going to multiply it by I. Okay, so I times I, as we know, is equal to I squared. I squared is then equal to negative 1. Negative 1 as our final answer. Again, it's equal. Now let's quickly go on to our last one, which is I is equal to I to the power of 7. So I to the power of 7, it's going to equal to I to the power of 6 times I. So I to the power of 6, as we know, is negative 1. Negative 1 times I is equal to negative I. So I hope you got the basics of this, and by the way, these are also equal. I hope you got the basics of this, and in future videos, I will be talking about how to find the value of I with a much larger number, like 43 perhaps. So I hope this video helped you, and please like and subscribe the video, and thank you for watching.